cannot wait to answer today's Ask Mel question, because this question is about how you manage your emotions when you get extraordinarily upsetting news. And the woman that you're about to meet, Yaya, in California, is going through something she didn't expect. I don't know whether she wants this or not, but she is riding the roller coaster. And so we are going to go to California right now, and let's go talk to Yaya. Well, I'm extraordinarily excited to talk to you, despite the fact that your question is a really intense one. So let's go.
Yeah, intense is right. Excuse me for being a bit of a crier. But yeah, 3 weeks ago, my husband told me he was done. So that was the beginning of April. And since then, it has been a crazy roller coaster of emotions. The way I deal with times that are difficult, I will just research the heck out of it until I find an answer to try to fix it, which I've obviously not been doing a very good job at because the emotions are so intense. I have 2 girls, and I need to be strong for them, and I realize this, so that's why I reached out to you, because my studying isn't working.
Well, I have a couple questions. I'm so happy and honored that you reached out to me, and I know that I'm going to help you today.
Okay.
And how long were you and your husband married?
So this year would have been our 14th year of marriage.
Okay. And were you surprised or blindsided when he came home, or did you see this coming?
I guess both. You know, as a backstory, when our oldest was 2, he did the same thing, except he actually left and then begged to come back. Fast forward to last September, he blindsided me and said, I think we're done. After a really good day, oddly, at least in my mind, it was a really great day.
Well, that shows you he's been pretending for a while.
You know, man, that's so true. So he left actually for a while. He had a training academy he had to go to. So he left in December. And of course, we were in touch, and because of the kids and just checking in like normal, at least I thought. And I had asked him several times, are we okay? And he told me yes. And then he came back, and 2 weeks into his being home, it was like, boom, freight train. Guess what? Still not okay. I'm done.
So the one thing I want you to see is the pattern, that you're with somebody that pretends and that lies, and that you cannot believe because he has demonstrated through his behavior that this is what he does. And the one thing I want you to take away from our conversation is you should not be with somebody who does not want to be with you. And you deserve to be with somebody who wants to be with you, who tells you the truth, who doesn't pretend, and who you feel emotionally safe with, so that you never have to ask the question, are we good? Are we good? Am I like picking up on the signs? And so the first question I have for you is, do you want to stay with him? I didn't say fix your marriage, because we can't fix him. And he has now done this 3 times to you. And when somebody treats you like shit, you should believe them. But this is your life and your marriage. And so I have to ask you first, have you made a decision that you are in fact leaving?
At this point, yes.
Okay, terrific.
Point of no return for me, honestly.
Okay, so here's what I want to say to you. Number 1, you're going to be okay. And that needs to be your mantra right now. That no matter how hard this gets, I know that I'm going to be okay. And I know that I will emerge stronger because of this. Okay? Number 2, try really hard not to ask why. because the why doesn't matter at this point. And when your heart is already breaking, getting into the details of the why, it only makes your heart break more under details that don't even matter at this point. Okay? The second thing or the third thing that's super important, and this is a difficult thing to do, but have you been feeling like you're a failure?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. So the thing that I don't want you to do is I don't want you to drop into the cycle of shame. And shame is when you start to make yourself feel like you're the bad thing, when in fact it's the marriage that was the bad thing. So when you start to go down the road of saying, I'm a failure, I failed at this, that means you're aiming all that crap at yourself. You need to change your language and say, my marriage failed. I saw something lighten up in your face when I made that distinction. What did you just get from that?
I would have never seen it that way, because I have been in the last few weeks thinking, what did I do wrong? How could I have done this better? You know, to say that I'm ambitious. I mean, well, I am. I'm rather ambitious in my professional life and in my personal life as well. So the first thing I thought to myself was, man, yeah, you're failing. Like, what are you doing wrong? How can you fix it? So that distinction will help me.
How does it help you? What do you see, honey?
I redirect my thoughts at the marriage, and I allow myself to kind of accept the fact that it's the relationship. And maybe, I don't know where the downturn was in our relationship, but I find comfort in being able to take that pressure off of myself and having to carry it.
Yeah, because here's the thing. You're never going to be good enough for the wrong person. That's it. You're never going to be good enough for the wrong person. And he's the wrong person for you right now. That's it. And you didn't fail. The marriage failed because you're never going to be good enough for the wrong person. And you shouldn't have to twist yourself into knots and become somebody that you're not in order to stay with somebody that you're not meant to be with. He came into your life, and he and you together created a family with 2 beautiful daughters. And the fact is, you will always have those daughters, and he will always be in their life as their father. And the decision that you need to make next, now that you've made the decision that it's over for me too, there is no going back, I am done, I will be okay, the marriage failed, I am not a failure. The next decision that you need to make is, what kind of co-parenting relationship or friendship moving forward do you want to create with him? That's what you get to choose.
Right. You know, and he had told me, unfortunately, he told our daughter without me, which had me absolutely, I mean.
Of course. This is what he does.
Right. He said that he told her we would remain friends, and I kind of felt like he was preemptive in that determination. I said, you know, right now I don't even want to look at you. Right now I go from, oh, please hold me, to wanting to punch him all the way out the door. Like, it's everywhere in between for me.
And it's going to be that way for a while, because you're going through a divorce, and divorces take time. And then once the divorce is final, what's going to happen is this. So much of your energy has been in conflict with him, and in, like, your energy is being put at, like, fixing this thing and dealing with him and are we okay, that when the door shuts and the divorce is final, because there's not going to be anything left to put your energy into, it's going to suddenly feel very quiet and cold. And you will be surprised by how much of your emotional energy went into trying to make this work with a person who was not meant to be with you. And the thing that I want you to understand right now is that there's an opportunity for you to go through this. And I'm not suggesting that you be weak through your divorce, or that you don't pay attention to the details around the negotiation related to assets or how things work, but that you be strong through this, but that you realize that you don't want to put your emotional energy into keeping up that anger and that fight. It's exhausting.
Yeah.
And by letting go, do you know how the fastest way to win a tug of war, which is what you've been in with this guy emotionally, is to drop the rope. That's it. You drop a rope in a tug of war and the other team falls backwards. Game over. And so you drop the rope with him and you literally take away his power, which is derived from making you angry and getting in conflict with you and undercutting you and not telling you the truth. You just give it up. This is what I'm going to accept. This is what I want. I'm not going to fight with you about this stuff. I'm done doing that. I'm not going to be mad at you anymore because I'm not going to give you any more time. If anything, what you need to learn from this is you knew a long time ago that you deserved better. And what I want you to leave this marriage with is 2 beautiful daughters, a partnership that does not cause you drama, and that shows your children that you can complete a relationship with somebody and be respectful and kind and not emotionally triggered, and that you can go on and be stronger, because next time you get that creepy feeling in your stomach that this is bullshit, I shouldn't have to put up with this, you'll listen to it. And that's good news, because it means that your intuition and your own wisdom is dead on accurate. It's a matter of choosing it and listening to it and not betraying what you know to be true for you for the sake of somebody else. That's the lesson of your marriage. And it takes some people a lifetime and they never even learn that. This is a gift that you have a moment where you can make a decision. I'm going to be okay. And in fact, I'm going to be stronger because I know I am never going to be with somebody who doesn't want to fight to be with me. I am never going to put up with behavior where I know somebody isn't being honest with me. I am never going to ignore what is going on in here. You do that, and you will show your daughters the greatest gift any woman could show their girls. You're damn right you're going to be just fine. And so in the meantime, I want you to stop searching Google for answers to the questions you already know the answer to. Your job is to keep busy with your life. It's to give him and this marriage distance. It's to not do any kind of begging or bargaining or stalking or spying or anything that even smells of looking in the rearview mirror or acting desperate. And you are to look ahead, and you are to fight to do something every day that proves that you're okay. Now, what does that mean? It means waking up when the alarm rings. It means exercising. It means the second you feel yourself getting emotionally like, disengaging, drop the rope. Drop the rope. And here's one other exercise I want to give you that can be very grounding when you're going through an earthquake. 3 years from now, when you are in a fabulous love affair with somebody who fights to be with you and who wants to be with you, and your ex has moved on, and your daughters are a little bit older, and there is a school function where you're celebrating one of your kids. Tell me how you and your ex are with one another.
We're absolutely fine. We can celebrate our kids together and continue being happy in the same space with those 2 lovely little girls.
That's right.
I mean, that's what I would love to have. And
fabulous. Make a decision to make it happen. And I want you to take it a step further. I want you to be thrilled that he is some other woman's problem. I want you to be thrilled that you are with somebody that you love and that loves you. And I want you to be so relieved that you can celebrate your beautiful daughters and not be even remotely hooked emotionally by this dude. That is your anchor thought. That is what you draw toward. Because you may not have moved through everything to get to that point now, but seeing it out in front of you, you know what you're working toward. And when you start to feel that emotion rise up, you take a step back and go, wait a minute, I can't wait for some other woman to take it. This is amazing. You're kidding? I know what's coming. So I'm not even going to engage in this. It's stupid. It's wasting my time. I got a business to run.
Yeah, definitely.
You got it? And because that's not what you normally do, he gets power when you get triggered. So he might come back around again. He might suddenly be like, wait a minute, she doesn't need me anymore? Wait a minute, she's content? Wait a minute, she's not begging, she's not desperate, she's not angry? Whoa, I suddenly want back. And that's when you got to be like, yeah, no, thank you. Because I'm okay, and the marriage failed, but I am not a failure. And I deserve to be with somebody who wants to be with me.
Yes. I want
yes.
Exactly what you just said.
Then go make it happen, woman. Go make it happen.
Get off Google Mel Robbins. I will.
And make it happen. And we will make sure you get a copy of this. You can watch this damn thing every morning and be like, that's right. Okay, that's right. And look, it's going to be up and down. Going to be days that you get triggered. There's going to be days where you feel hopeless. There's going to be days where you see a friend of yours renovating her kitchen, and you're going to think, why the fuck didn't I just marry a guy like that? Why am I back at square zero? Give yourself space to mourn what you thought was going to happen. But do not allow yourself in the morning of that to get hooked to a relationship that does not work for you. You do not deserve that. You deserve so much more.
The other thing that happened, hold on, I'm sorry. I'm completely losing my train of thought. So you're seeing me have the need to do a mindset reset live, which is really good because I think it's super important for you to see that people that you admire, people that give advice, people that are giving advice, people that have big businesses, that they're not perfect and that there are things that go wrong and that they too, just like you, have to deal with frustrations and expectations not being met. And that one of the things that has made me a very successful person is that I have learned how to process upset very, very quickly. And so as we do this training tonight, what you're going to notice is I will probably go from being somewhat frazzled at the beginning of video 20 to being very, very focused by the time that we're done. And it's really important that you learn the skill to notice when you're triggered, to be able to identify what's triggering you, to even say it out loud, because if you hold it in your body, you're going to have it continue to trigger you, and then to keep going. Because it's only through the skill of continuing to move forward when things aren't working that you'll actually get your strength back, that you'll learn that no matter what happens, you can be rattled in the moment, but you can regain your footing and you can move forward and you can still make progress on the things that are important to you. You can regroup and align yourself with your values and your goals. And that's the whole point of Mindset Reset. This is bothering me too. Hold on a second. Nothing is set up right tonight. There we go. Much better. That's the whole point of Mindset Reset, that when you change how you think, you will change your life. When you realize that, yes, you will get triggered. Yes, things will not go according to plan, but you can choose how you respond to it. And then you can choose what you think about next. And as you continue to be frustrated or you're not getting what you want as you're trying to move forward, you can continue to choose to keep trying, and you can continue to choose to keep redirecting your thoughts. And that's the power of what you're learning. So we're on video 20, and what we're going to cover today is we're going to cover financial anxiety. This is Anxiety Week. We've been covering for, almost 6 videos already, at least. We've been covering during videos 13 through videos 20, we've been discussing anxiety at length. So one of the things I don't have, guys, is the videos 1 through 9. I only have 9 through 11. Sorry, I'm talking to my team. Let me try to focus because I'm so distracted because this did not start the way that I wanted it to start. Woo! Take a deep breath. Thank you for being here. And let's get on with the training. Amber from Facebook, what is something I can do to stop worrying? How do I start to break this habit? It's killing me. I'm so glad you asked. I apologize that this training has been so long because I'm just now getting to the homework. First of all, I want you to realize something. This is a habit. A habit's just a pattern. That's it. And every day during Anxiety Week, we are going to be building on everything that we're learning. So what you're learning today is the connection between your worrying about things and how it triggers your body to start to feel agitated, and that's when anxiety sets in, okay? And when your body starts to get agitated, that's when it usually really impacts your actions. And so it's critical that we start with the habit of worrying. So your homework for today is to simply write down the things that you worry about. And some of you may have 100 things. In fact, in the comments, why don't you start to write for us, what is it that you worry about? Because I guarantee you, as you see people write down what they worry about in the comments, you're gonna be like, yep, me too. Oh, yep, me, I worry about that one. Oh, yep, when my boss gets it, yep, Oh, when my spouse starts drinking, oh yeah, I got that one too. Oh, yep, when my kids are out, yep, yep. Oh, I worry about that. Yep, I worry about running out of money. I worry about this. I worry about that. And you'll be amazed how often your mind isn't even right here with you and me. That your mind is thinking about some moment in the future when you're going to lose all your money. Or your mind is thinking about the fact that, holy cow, I haven't heard from my spouse in a couple hours. I wonder if they're dead. Or your mind is worried about what you're going to do on Thursday when you go to that doctor's appointment. Being a deliberate thinker means, when your mind defaults to something in the future that's negative or something that you can't control, we're going to yank it right back to this moment. And we're either going to visualize something positive or we're going to think this other thing that makes me settle, that gives me control. The first step is writing down everything that you worry about. If you want to take the assignment a step further, you can start to write down things that you could think instead of the worry. Another thing that you could do with this list of worries is, and this is what we're going to build on tomorrow, is now that you have a list of worries, we're going to start to coach you to understand that your worries are typically things that need some form of action for you. They need some problem solving. They need some system in place. They need some plan B that you don't have now that's going to make you feel like that thing that concerns you, you've at least put down something that makes you feel a little bit better about it, okay? The other thing that we're going to talk about tomorrow is we're going to talk about triggers. This is fascinating, absolutely fascinating. We're going to talk about how there are triggers all day long that trigger you to worry and you don't even realize it. Everything from people to time of day to people's tone of voice. And so we're going to talk to you all about going through and identifying triggers in your day. This is absolutely incredible. So Amber, how do you stop worrying? First, let's identify what you're worrying about, okay? Then we're going to just go step by step by step. We're going to coach you on how you identify the things you worry about, and then we're going to talk about what are the things you're not doing. What are the things you need to do in that area so that you have put controls in place so that the worry is unwarranted.
Well, now there's like a mad rush of young people looking to see if you will adopt them, because that's my first thought. My second thought was, okay, so when my daughter has anxiety, or my son has anxiety, my daughter more so will struggle with anxiety, and she's pretty open about it. There's a part of me that wants to fix it, and there's a part of me that's like, how can you have anxiety when I'm your mom and we talk about these things and I pump you up and you don't need to do anything to be amazing. And so she just gets this incredible pep talk. Like most people would die to I mean, that's like prose basically to read that and to be so encouraged. And so many people, not only do they not get that encouragement from their own parents, they don't get it from anyone.
Right.
So to think that she's getting that, and she's, her parents are together, and she's had this incredible opportunity to have someone pour into her all of her life, yet she still struggles with anxiety.
Crippling.
And so as a parent, that's something I'm always wanting, like, I struggle with that. Like, is it something I've done? Is it the manic way that I live my life? Like, am I the person who's giving her, because I don't have anxiety, so am I giving her anxiety?
So I have no idea. Here's the most important thing. It doesn't matter what you think or what you're feeling. Mm-hmm. Because the anxiety is her felt experience.
That's right.
Right? And as parents, I think one of the most heartbreaking and frustrating things is that oftentimes you have somebody in your life that you love, a son, a daughter, a partner, and you see all the amazing things about them, and they don't see any of it. Mm-hmm. And so this is also one of the big things in the book that we write about how your own mind has a filter in it, this thing called the reticular activity system. And that the filter in your brain is very different than the filter in anybody else's brain. And it's constantly changing in real time based on what you think is important to it. So this is all chapters, I think 4 through 7, we go through all this and teach you how to change the filter. You've experienced this filter, by the way. Mm-hmm. So when you go to buy a new car, right now, everybody's seeing Broncos everywhere, right? The new Bronco is out.
Okay, now
there's one.
Now
right.
I will. I hadn't, but now I will. So
when's the last time you bought a car?
In December.
Okay, and what happened once you decided what kind of car you were going to see?
I keep seeing that car everywhere.
Correct.
And when I see the same car in the same color, I try to run them off the road.
Yes, and so that's your brain changing the way it filters the world in real time because of what it thinks is important to you. So if I think, for example, that your daughter is beautiful, and your daughter thinks that she's the ugliest or the biggest of all her friends or whatever, it doesn't matter what I think.
Right.
It matters what she thinks. Mm-hmm. And when you tell yourself over and over that you're not good enough or you're a failure or you're this or you're that, your brain actually thinks it's important. I can give you an example. So my husband went into the restaurant business. It was a dream of his. And this is actually all part of the origin story of the 5-second rule. And he and his best friend launched these little pizza joints outside of Boston, Massachusetts. And it ends up not going great. And they work at it super, super hard for 7 years. And at the end of the business, they sold it for pennies on the dollar to the next investor. They left the business and they did not return the profit that they had hoped to return to their investors. Now, our best friend, Chris's business partner, was able to leave that business and go, entrepreneurship. I'm proud of myself.
Sure.
We worked so hard. And yeah, did we do what we set out? No, but you know what? I feel good about what I did. My husband couldn't do that. He left that business and said, that failed, I'm a failure.
Oh.
And
was that his first big entrepreneurial?
Yep,
okay.
Yep. And for 7 years, he would drag that into the bathroom every morning.
Oh.
And the human being he saw staring back at him in the mirror was a failure because of that thing. That's actually why most people have anxiety, or because because they resist the high five habit. Because they are dragging their entire past into the bathroom and saying, because of these things that have been done to me or these things that I did that I wish I could change, I now see a person who does not deserve a high five.
Yeah.
And so you withhold the thing that you need to forgive yourself, to love yourself.
The thing that you would give to anyone else.
That's also why people feel anxious.
Well, let's talk about that. Worry and anxiety,
Yes.
the difference between the two.
You got it.
Because I don't worry, and it's almost a problem. I feel, and I've talked about it before.
Why do you think you don't worry?
Well, I had my brain scanned, and Dr. Amen says I just don't have blood flow in that area. So part of it's genetic. Part of it is my faith.
Yep.
Part of it is the way I was raised. Like, you just roll with everything. So, and my parents, I don't think were worriers. So I never learned the worry habit. I think that's part of it.
But then to your point, it's interesting. How did my daughter learn it? Right? If your daughter's struggling with it.
Yes.
I'm going to fan myself because I actually think I might be having a hot flash.
Oh, that's so fantastic, because that's another thing we talk a lot about is
You just let
the
it
change.
Go. I know. Who cares?
I haven't had any hot flashes yet.
What?
I shouldn't even.
How is that even
I probably
possible?
just jinxed myself.
Yes.
I don't know.
that's
My
all
mom
right.
didn't have a lot of hot flashes either.
It happens more and more.
But so I don't worry. I don't worry.
All right, so let me tell you the difference. So worrying is nothing more than worrying is always about the future, by the way. It's never about the present moment.
True.
And so worrying is when your thoughts start to sound an alarm about what's going to happen.
Okay.
So it's the what if this, what if that, what if the other thing, what if loop that you can get trapped into. Anxiety is when your body state changes.
So worry is all the things that are happening in your head.
Yeah.
Oh, and anxiety you feel.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
That helps me.
Yes.
Okay. So, and you're still having the thoughts too.
Correct.
Okay.
But a lot of times what will happen is that your body state can get so agitated that you even stop being present to what you're worried about, because now your mind goes, I feel like I'm going to throw up. I feel like my heart is racing. And you start to obsess over the physiology of your body. And I'm going to explain kind of even more about this.
Super helpful.
Panic is now the big brother of all of this. So worry's the little baby. Then we got the middle schooler, which is feeling it in your body. And then you got the big, teenager of a panic attack, which is when the body state gets so scared and upset that now your brain has an emergency system that says, we're going to get you out of here. So if you've ever been around somebody who panics, they're not rational.
No.
They're immediately like, I need to get out of the room.
I'm going to die.
I'm going to die. Like they go into a mode of get me out of here as a way to rescue themselves from a body that's now sounding a 5 alarm kind of fire. So there are 2 ways that anxiety can come on, this anxiety thing in your body. You can either start with your mind and all the what ifs. What if this happens? What if that happens? What if this happened? It can happen as you're scrolling through social media and you start to see that your friends all went out and they didn't invite you. Thanks a lot. Or you see the person that's, exercising and you start going, but I didn't exercise. And you start thinking, it's never going to work out for me. Or you see all the couples and then you start thinking, what if I never meet anybody? So it can start with the thoughts, right?
Yeah.
And then your body starts to go, uh-oh. And your stomach gets tense and your armpits sweat and your heart starts to race. And that's how it ramps up. Or if you have trauma stored in your body from anything in your childhood or anything in your past, there will be times that you feel a surge of anxiety come on and you don't know why.
So there is no precursor. There's no, you're saying for certain people or in certain situations, you might just be washing the dishes and suddenly you have anxiety come on.
Correct.
And so I want, and again, I'm asking these questions because I haven't felt it. Yeah.
If it's a trauma response, it's because your nervous system just remembered something from your past. So I'll give
like
you
subconsciously?
Yeah. I'll give you a really, really common example that we've found in all the research that we've done and the people that we've coached. A lot of people get very on edge as the sun goes down. And the reason why is because if you grew up in a chaotic or abusive household, that's when people were coming home from work.
Yeah.
That's when the drinking began.
Or you came home from school.
Correct. If you hear tires on a gravel road, if you hear a beer can crack open, if you smell a certain cologne, those can be things that set you on edge. Sure. And that's not even something you're consciously aware of. It's your body remembering something. And your body's now trying to help you by going, pay attention, this is that thing, But then you're standing there washing your dishes, you feel this thing happen, and you're like, why am I feeling nervous? Why is my stomach? And then your thoughts go. This is how it escalates. So
can I ask somebody who feels anxiety all the time?
That's generalized anxiety, and that's what that's,
and is that a physical feeling that you feel all the time?
What that is there's an entire chapter around this book that'll change your life. I think it's chapter 7. It's called High Fiving Your Heart. So when you're on edge all the time, let me teach you about your nervous system.
Yes.
Because I think everybody on the planet right now, having come out of the last 18 months, everybody is right now in a state of fight or flight. Everybody's nervous system is fried and on edge. Everybody is prone to being triggered because you have just gone through a level of sustained uncertainty that no human nervous system can manage.
Yeah.
So here's what everybody needs to know. You have 2 nervous systems, okay? You have something called the sympathetic nervous system, which is basically fight or flight.
Right.
This is your anxiety state. This is being on edge. This is feeling like the next shoe is going to drop. This is what psychologists call being dysregulated, okay? The second nervous system that you have is called the parasympathetic nervous system. And that is your calm, cool, grounded, resting nervous system. That's how we want you to go through your day.
Yeah.
Because when you are grounded in your body and you feel comfortable in your own skin, First of all, your prefrontal cortex can work. Secondly, you won't be as easily triggered. Third, you'll feel more optimistic and focused. And so I want to teach you a simple trick using science to switch off this on edge nervous system and switch on the really positive one. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to use something called the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is a treasure, as you know, in your body. And it runs from your rear end all the way up to the top of your head, through every organ, through your vocal cords. All you're going to do is take your hands, put them right here in the center of your chest. You're going to press down, you're going to take a deep breath, and then you're going to say these 3 sentences. I'm okay. I'm safe. I'm loved.
I'm okay. I'm safe. I'm loved.
Yeah. What did you feel when you did that?
I believe those things. I feel good.
Yeah.
I feel calmer.
Yeah.
So I suppose that brings you into that state?
Yes. And pressing here actually tones the vagus nerve, which is an on-off button between the on edge and the calm and cool. It's like a treasure. And so here's a couple things I want you to know. There are some mornings you might wake up and you need to do it 53 times. There are days you might stand in the grocery store and somebody cuts you off with their cart and it just sends you reeling. Hands on heart. Give your heart a high five. Pull yourself back into your body. Switch off that stress response. Switch on your grounded, calm, in control response.
Do you recommend people do that? I mean, is there a
Every
way
morning.
to put the brake on if you're someone who can pretty easily slip into a panic attack?
Yes. So this is something you want to start to do immediately. And I recommend you do it right after you get out of bed. Because I would like for you, before you get into the bathroom mirror, I would like for you to be present and on edge. And I would like for you to be grounded in your body when you start your day. It's an incredible gift that you can give yourself because you'll feel more in control and centered and present. And then when you step in front of that mirror, you will actually be able to be with yourself and to understand, okay, what do I need from myself today?
Yeah.
And it completely changes that moment. The other reason why this is important is because if your nervous system is on edge, and that's your default, yes, you're going to be way more prone to a panic attack because you are already idling at such a stressed out level, and all the chemical releases from the cortisol and everything else that's flooding your body. We need to get you back into a more neutral and grounded state. So that'll help for sure. And so it's important to understand, are my worries starting in my head or are they actually a felt experience in my body? Because then depending upon which or both it is, you can use 2 totally different strategies. First of all, this high-fiving your heart absolutely will work for trauma. It does not get rid of it. It helps you manage and live with it. I would recommend EMDR. I would also recommend...
We're big fans of EMDR.
Yeah, and the guided psychedelic modalities are incredible. I've done those for childhood trauma, and they've been unbelievable.
Amazing.
And so those sorts of things really help you heal trauma. This will help you control it, live with it, not be afraid of it, in terms of being able to settle your nervous system.
You've experienced anxiety, you said, all your life.
Yeah.
So I have a couple questions around that. Number one, controlling it, managing it. What are your thoughts and your experiences with medication, SSRIs?
Oh, great question. So I took Zoloft from the age of 22 until probably 44.
Okay.
It was life-changing. It was
Life-saving or life-changing or both?
both. It was the latter I needed to get out of a hole because when I finally got diagnosed with anxiety, I have a very interesting story because I fall into the group of women, and I know you do too, that were completely part of what they call the lost generation.
Yeah.
So when they came out, as you know, with the ADHD and ADD diagnosis back in the 70s.
Just a boy thing.
Just a boy thing, yeah. And the symptoms for women present completely differently. And when you don't treat ADHD, you tend to get anxiety.
Yeah.
And so there's a huge group of women our age that were treated and medicated for anxiety in their late teens and early 20s when the actual issue was ADD.
It's still happening today.
Oh, of course it is. Yes. It's actually one of these things I'm super passionate about getting out into the world.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't until I discovered the 5-second rule and I started to do the part that you can do to interrupt the worry loop, which when you can cut the anxiety off at its knees by cutting off the worry cycle, you stop the escalation in your body.
Okay.
And so I can teach you guys how to do that. It's super simple. It's
Let's do it.
super
Let's do
effective.
it. Yeah.
There's one other thing I want to teach you about anxiety, though, that also is incredibly empowering because it makes so much sense. So anxiety has a purpose. Really important one, actually. Anxiety and that anxiety response in your body gets you to pay attention.
Yeah.
If you go into a state of being hyper alert before a test, you'll do better if you're not worried.
Absolutely.
Same with performance. Same with sports. Like it's really, and also it alerts you to danger. So for example, if you and I were driving after this interview to go get a cup of coffee and somebody suddenly swerves in front of us.
Yes.
And we whip the car.
Yes.
What are you going to feel in your body?
Feels like butterflies. I'll shake.
Yep.
Sweat maybe.
Yep.
A little bit of panic.
Yep.
And your muscles tense up.
Yep. Exactly. So you just had a panic attack in the car.
Oh.
But the reason why it wasn't scary is because intellectually it made sense.
It made sense. Yeah, like of course I almost died.
Yeah, the swerving was your brain taking over to get you out of there. That's a panic attack, basically.
Oh, interesting.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
In a way that's healthy.
Yeah.
And then when
serves us.
Yeah, when the car pulls away, what happens in your body?
You start to like it stays for a minute, but then you start to go like, okay, I'm safe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What happens for people that struggle with anxiety is they have that response and it doesn't make any sense because they don't understand it. So it escalates because they get afraid of it. And once you're afraid of anxiety coming on, then you actually make it last longer because you're resisting the up and down of it. And so there's two things that you can do. First, what I want you to do is I want you to write down, well, actually, first what you do is for a week, anytime you catch yourself time traveling ahead or worrying, use the 5-second rule and interrupt it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and just say, I'm not thinking about that. Mm-hmm. You want to build a muscle of catching yourself hanging out in the worry loop.
Oh, catch yourself when you're hanging out there. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You're thinking about your roommate situation this fall, and it's not even this fall yet. You're worried about what classes you're going to get. You're worried about whether or not you're going to lose the weight before the reunion. You're worried about whether or not anyone's going to hire you because you've been home staying. Like you're like sitting here just in the doom loop, right?
I do this with my daughter, and so I'm curious if you can give me some advice from someone who has it, because again, I don't know her experience, but we will get into this dialogue. We just did it last night. She's planning her wedding and she's launching a beauty brand. And so she was going through like all of the what ifs thoughts in her head. And she was like, I'm so anxious. And so I'm dismissing each one of her what ifs and what ifs. And I just keep dismissing it. And then I'm like the toxic positivity mother, like, so you're not worried, okay? Good night. I'm going to bed, but you're not worried and you're not anxious.
Well, so when somebody who's anxious brings their problems to people, people are like, well, because here's the thing. I did this for years.
Okay.
And my kids' anxiety just escalated.
Okay.
So there are two mistakes all parents make.
I'm taking notes.
All parents make these two mistakes, including yours truly. I mean, I caused my kids years of therapy because of these mistakes. And myself, of course, for blaming myself for making these mistakes. Number one is invalidating the worry.
Okay.
We think we're helping our kids by going, let me tell you all the reasons why you don't need to worry about that.
Okay.
What actually happens is you shove your kid further into the corner because they don't feel seen or heard.
Ooh. Okay.
This will change your life as a parenting method.
Okay.
Ready?
Yep.
This is all you say. Would you like me to give you advice, or do you just need me to listen?
Okay. I can do that.
95% of the time, my kids say, I just need you to listen.
Okay.
They're getting it out of their head by coming to you.
Yeah.
And I have the same dynamic with one of my daughters where she comes to me and I've become her blankie emotionally.
Sure.
And then I immediately try to go, but that's not an issue and that's not an issue. And that's good that you have that fight with that friend because she's a jerk anyway.
Yeah.
And she just is coming to be heard. That's it. And I keep the anxiety around because she's not resolving it in a healthy way because I'm fighting with her about whether or not it's actually legitimate to feel this way. So I'm also making her feel less than for having these worries.
I trust you when you say this, but there's a part of me that feels like, but she doesn't see the, like, if she's struggling with this, I just have to explain to her that this is how it will work. But
here's the thing. Here's the second mistake. We think it's our job as parents to fix the things they're worried about.
Absolutely. It feels like an obligation. You're only as happy as your least happy child, they say.
But here's the thing. When you step in to fix it,
yeah.
you are telling your child, I don't think you can.
Right. Absolutely.
Or I don't think you can face this.
You don't have what it takes.
Yes.
Let me do it for you.
Yes. And I made this mistakes for years. I was creating a learned helplessness in my kids. I was entrenched in this toxic pattern of my daughter coming to me with her concerns and worries, which were very, very valid, and me trying to fix them because I was worried. But all she felt was, Mom doesn't hear me. And this is actually a big deal. And she thinks that simple solution is going to fix it. And the truth is, the simple solution always fixes it. But she's not coming to you about the stuff she's talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
She's actually expressing that deeper emotion of this hurts, or I'm scared, or I don't feel good enough. And when we stay up here, like, let's get rid of this and let's take care of that and don't think about it this way, we're just trying to help. We just love them.
Yeah.
The deeper thing, the deeper wound that they keep having trigger this anxiety, it doesn't actually get addressed. And so when you listen, and just listen and listen, anything else, great. Is there anything you need from me? Because then what happens is you're teaching them how to think strategically, make requests, and ask for the help that they need.
Yeah.
This all comes back to, by the way, this high five habit in the mirror. Because if you can't stand in the mirror and see a human being that's trying, that's struggling, that's anxious, that feels insecure, and still go, I hear all that, and I got you, and we're going to get through it. You're going to constantly be seeking that assurance in everybody else about the surface level things in your life. When the real issue is something much deeper. And when you start to connect with yourself at a deeper level every single morning and see a human being and celebrate them, no matter where they are, even if the wedding stuff is falling apart, or the bridesmaids are complaining with each other, and I don't even know the stuff, or you're just worried you're not going to fit into the dress, or you're worried about where people are going to sit at the tables, or you're worried about who's going to show up,
all
or
the
you're worried
things.
about, like, all the things. You can stand with yourself with all those things going on and still love and support and celebrate yourself, and know that no matter what happens, whether the seating arrangement gets right or not, or that you got your own back.
Yeah.
You're going to see yourself through it.
I love that you're a fan of therapy. You talk about it. And also finding out the right medication, maybe even, like you said, knowing if you have the right diagnosis. Like, that's huge. Because
it's so liberating.
Once you, like, really truly understand your brain, which, we can probably spend a whole nother hour talking about that. It just doesn't make sense that right now the standard of care is we ask a couple of questions, we don't look at the organ, and then we decide what's going on with you. Are you a fan of therapy for kids, and at what age? And
any age you need it. I'm a fan of talking about everything.
Yeah. Did you send your kids to therapy?
When they needed it, absolutely. When our kids, when our son started sleeping on the floor.
At what age?
At the age of 8. And it went from one night.
His bedroom or on the floor in your room?
Ours.
Okay.
And it went from one night to 3 months. We got a therapist, all right.
Yeah.
And that's when I started to learn, I'm really screwing this up, because by letting him stay on the floor, I'm actually communicating, you're right. You're not strong enough to sleep through the night.
So this brought up an email I got from a mom this week who said she ended up with a daughter who ended up being very suicidal, extreme bullying, etc. And she kept telling her, like, it's going to make you tougher. This is how girls are. Like, you're going to be okay. I went through this in middle school too, all those things. And she said, the one thing I regret not doing was taking it serious enough.
Die by suicide?
No.
Oh,
Daughter's
okay.
alive.
When you said regret, I was like,
her regret was that she didn't transfer her to another school and realize it was. So, when I think about, like, okay, you can fix it yourself. I believe in you. I trust you. How do we find that balance?
Well, I think in extreme situations like that, you got to listen to your kid and the experts.
Yeah.
Like, if your kid is crying that much for help and is suicidal, get them out of the environment they're in.
Yeah.
Period. If you have a kid that's got chronic anxiety and they're starting to opt out of life, you need support in supporting them in inching toward the things that are scaring them, because it's only through facing the things that are scaring them. And that doesn't mean striding into a school where you're getting bullied to the point of wanting to die by suicide.
Yeah.
But if you're afraid to go out, they're afraid to go out of the house or afraid to invite somebody over, afraid to...
Which is really common right now in this age group, like 13 to 19.
I think it's also common coming out of the pandemic.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it probably has a lot to do with that. They're afraid to drive their cars. They're afraid to go off of social media.
See,
yet
I
they
think
hate
that
being
this,
on
by
it.
the
Like,
way, is a lot of our overparenting. I think that we have so bubble wrapped our kids because we don't want them. It hurts when your kid is in pain, that we don't force them to do things that are a struggle. And I've certainly succumbed to this. After a long day of work, do I want to fight with my kid about whether or not they should have their phone in the room? No.
right. That's
Should I
honest.
have done that sooner? Of course. Because what I didn't realize about our kids and their phones is that part of the problem with phones in their bedrooms after a certain hour is they feel obligated
Yes.
to be available to their friends.
And to know what's going on with everyone everywhere.
Yep. And so there is a psychology driver that is more powerful than they are. And as parents, it's important to kind of know when to draw the line and when not, even though it hurts, even though they're going to hate you. Look at the same stuff our parents said to us, but I think it's more complicated with technology. It really is, because they're on their laptops for school. And they're on their phones doing FaceTime in study groups, and they're on their phones in FaceTime playing video games, and that's how a lot
They
of
were
them
on their
socialize.
phones and on their devices, and they were forced to be so,
Right.
like first graders all the way through the pandemic.
Well, I remember being on the phone upstairs, talking to my best friend Jody Bricken, in secret at 11 o'clock
with
at
one of
night.
the cords that
Yeah,
went
and
like
all
that.
of a sudden, mortified because my father picks up and is like, "All right, you two, I can hear you. Hang up the phone." You're like, "Oh my God, okay, hang up the phone. I gotta go, Jody." We're way up past our bedtime.
Yeah.
And we are not doing that with our kids
Right.
because they have a whole world in their hand. And so I do think one really important thing that we put in place way too late was a basket in the kitchen with a charging station. And after a certain time, our kids had to have it in the
I love
basket.
that tip. I
And
love
that's
that tip.
where my phone goes in my bathroom at night. That's
Yeah.
where I charge it, even in a hotel, no matter where I am, because I can't be trusted.
Yeah.
I'm going to grab it and look at it.
Yeah. Well, talking about the high five habit,
Yeah.
I was in preparation for our time together today, I was thinking about how that's like one of the first things you teach kids. Like if you notice, like little kids, they learn to wave goodbye and they go high five, and so why not teach them this habit and to give it to themselves too. And so that's
it
what I
has
love
to
about
give
the
it
book.
to
It's
yourself.
so
Yes.
helpful for people any age. You're not saying like this is going to fix somebody who's has some deeper issues to deal with,
Actually,
but it's a good
Let me
strategy.
tell you a story. Let me tell you a story. So a really important story that I think, actually there's two. One is in the book and one happened yesterday.
Okay.
So a woman who was in a domestic violence shelter, massive childhood trauma, just escaped a very abusive relationship. She's lost everything. Mm-hmm. And she wrote to us from a domestic violence shelter and said that what the high five habit has taught her after 5 days is that she knows that she has a lifetime of healing. She knows she has a tremendous amount of work to do. But now she knows that she can have her own back. And that's like one of those moments where when that clicks inside somebody, now it's not going to change the reality of what she's facing. It's not going to change the very real obstacles that she has from a psychological and economic, everything perspective.
But it was the
changes
moment.
her
Yeah.
and her ability to rise up and to face these things. Mm-hmm. And the second one was yesterday. So this circulated in an email to our team this morning because I like to see from our audience what's the impact of what we're doing. And so we circulate an email every morning with screenshots of comments or emails or stuff of what people are saying. And there was a woman that said, now keep in mind, the High Five Habit book is not even out yet. Mm-hmm. I've only just shared it on social media. Can't even really get into the deep science, which we only scratched at the surface on in our conversation. Mm-hmm. She said that she was at an AA meeting and somebody stood up in the AA meeting and shared the High Five Habit.
You're kidding.
No, and said to everybody, you have got to get on the bandwagon with this because we all need to wake up every day and see a human being who is trying.
Wow.
And who needs encouragement and support.
Wow.
And to think that a simple idea backed by science is already going viral and helping people not only help themselves, but help other people by sharing it.
Yeah.
It is the most just magical and exquisite thing in the world.
And it's got to feel amazing.
It does. And so I want to thank you for giving me an opportunity to come on your show and have a hot flash. And, worrying is wasting time. It's robbing you of what you want to do in your life, and it's making you suffer in a needless way. Look, I don't want you to get to the end of your life and look back and think, I wish I hadn't wasted so much of my precious life on stuff that didn't matter. I wish I didn't let all that stupid worrying keep me from doing the things that I always dreamt about doing. I'm here to tell you that you can learn how to switch your thoughts to something more productive and optimistic. This is great news. Worry is a hackable thing, and I'm going to use a ton of science and proven experience to show you just how to hack it using one magical tool. And here's the great news. Once you learn how worry starts, you can use that knowledge to make it stop. You can practice this magical tool every day to quiet your mind. I mean, just imagine that. A quiet mind. Wow. I know exactly how you feel. I mean, I know how exhausting and frustrating it is to constantly be trapped in the grinding cycle of worrying about everything. How do I know this? I lived it. I've always been worried. I mean, if you could be a baby that worries, that was me. I'm sure at 11 months, when my mom was running late to heat up my pureed carrots and potatoes, I was probably thinking, is she coming back? Where is she? I'm starving. I mean, I might just starve to death here. I think she hates me. She's left. Maybe she's angry about the face I made as I tried the pureed snow peas for lunch. Oh my gosh, what do I do? I have to find a new family to feed me. How am I going to find my new family? I got no connections, no money. I'm wearing a diaper. I can't even walk yet. I'm going to starve to death in the next 24 hours. That was baby Mel. And that was just the beginning. I mean, I was just kind of warming up for a life of worry on a very elite professional level. You know, as a little kid, I worried about everything from the teacher's reaction to whether or not the kid in the stall next to me was going to hear me fart. When I got to middle school, it was all about whether or not my tough skin jeans were cool or my acne or my new perm that I immediately regretted. When I was in college, I was worried if I studied enough for the test, if I was going to flunk out, if I was going to go blind from the grain alcohol I drank from the garbage can at that frat party. I worried if I had enough gas in the car to get to the grocery store. The truth about worrying is, once you let it start to spin, it just spins out of control. I'm sure you know this. I mean, worry has tormented me since I was a kid. It tormented me as a teen, in my 20s, my 30s, hell, my 40s. And if I can go from having this worry as my torturous default and learn how to interrupt it and redirect it and program a positive mind, you can too. Here's exactly what you need to do about worry and overthinking. Here's the magical tool I want to share with you. And I got to give you a warning. This is going to sound so simple. You might even start worrying that it's not going to work. That's why I have strung along this episode like it's an infomercial about worrying, because the solution is so simple, and it has to be. When it comes to your habit of worrying, you already overcomplicate everything. If I give you 3 steps to remember, you won't do any of them. That's how good you are at worrying. I need you to have something simple. So I've come up with this incredible way to do hand-to-hand combat with your worrying mind. Are you ready? Good. The second you catch yourself worrying, when you feel your mind spin, when you feel your shoulders pinch up towards your ears like new earrings and you feel your jaw clench, and wait, there's more. You feel yourself starting to get heavy and paralyzed and defeated, and those worries start to spin in your mind. Here's exactly what you're going to do. It's just 6 magical words. It encapsulates incredible research. It's so simple. You can do it. And don't worry, it's going to work. Here are the 6 magical words you're going to say to yourself every time you worry. What if it all works out? That's it. What if it all works out? Look, I know what you're thinking.
You feel let down right now. That's because you're worried it's not going to work. But what if it all works out? What if these simple, stupid 6 words actually work? What if trying this works out? You just heard me say the words. What if it all works out? And you know what your response was? Well, I don't think it's going to work out. That's why I'm worrying. You got to trust me on this. Your worries sound just as dumb as this magical tool does. You have just listened to your worry for so long that you believe it. Now, I said this was hand-to-hand combat. You don't just throw one punch, you're going to have to keep on punching. Every time one of your stupid worries pop into your head, what if I don't get the apartment? What if I don't lose the weight? What if I don't get the raise? What if I look stupid my first day of work? What if nobody ever loves me? What if the swamp monster kills me? You need to punch those stupid worries in the face with 6 magical words, because this simple question breaks the pattern of worrying. Because if you think about worrying always begins with what if. In fact, my daughter used to call her worries the what if loop. I feel like I'm trapped in a what if loop, Mom. Well, guess what? You're trapped in a what if loop too. So you need just one fast, perfectly placed, boom, counterpunch. You need the same punch for every worry. So you get really good at punching every worry in the face. And that punch is, what if it all works out? That's the counterpunch you need to knock absolutely any worry and all overthinking away. It's pretty incredible. I'm here to tell you, in those moments when you get trapped in this, what if this, what if that, what if that, and you start spinning, you got to stop it. And the fastest way to stop the spinning is to say, well, what if it all works out? What if I get the apartment? What if I pass the test? What if the doctor says something and it's okay? What if he doesn't break up with me? What if he breaks up with me and it all works out? What if I get bad news and it all works out and I'm okay? It's a way to get back the feeling of control. You see, the research shows that when you feel out of control, your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain behind your forehead, the part that's in charge of organizing information and making decisions, it basically stops working when you feel out of control. And that's why it's so hard to make decisions, and it's why it's hard to move ahead. You just get stuck in this dark mental loop because you literally are so focused on things not working out that you don't have anything positive to grab onto. What if it all works out? Gives you something positive to hold on to. It gives your brain the ladder out of a dark hole of worry. And all you have to do is step on the first rung. Because the first rung on that ladder out of that dark hole of worry is 6 simple words. What if it all works out? Ask it again and you step on the second rung. What if it all works out? Again, and you're on the third rung. Ask it repeatedly about the same problem, and it's like climbing up the ladder. And before you know it, the ladder, what if it all works out, has got you up so high, you are out of the hole of worry, and you have a completely different view of the situation. Listen, there will always be things that come out of nowhere. We can't stop the outside world. We can't stop the fact that you are probably going to worry about something every day. I mean, hello, global pandemic. People get sick. People say they don't want to be married. Jobs get taken away. The stock market drops. Shit happens. It's easy and normal to feel knocked down by life. But you can always use these 6 magical words to help you ride the ups and downs in life. What if it all works out? Doesn't mean it's going to work out today. One of the reasons why your brain loves the sentence, what if it all works out, is you haven't put a deadline at the end of it. The fact that you're saying, well, what if it all works out, automatically allows your brain to expand out of the current crisis because you know, based on your life experience, that in the end, over the years, yeah, eventually, it does all work out. And, here's a third reason why these 6 magical words create opportunity, possibility, positivity, and a better situation. And that is because it anchors you in optimism. When you're worried and you say, how will it work out? When is it going to work out? What if it doesn't work out? The how and the when, it narrows your focus. It gets you caught in the worry loop, and it makes your thoughts and your mood spiral tighter and tighter and tighter. The second you say, well, what if it all works out? You just change that one word from how's it going to work out? How's it going to what if it all works out? I mean, come on. And it opens you up. You can just feel the different energy. How's it going to work out? What if it all works out? If you consider that it will all work out, you begin to see multiple paths. How puts the blinders on? It makes things really small. What? What if it all works out? Opens up the world of alternatives that you have, and it widens the scope. It widens the lens you're looking through, making room for better things to happen. The next time you hear yourself say, what if, and you start bracing for the worst, instead, just insert your new magic words. What if it all works out? What if this turns out to be the best decision I've ever made? What if I look back 6 months from now and this, right now, this was the moment I found the courage to be myself? What if I'm stronger and more resilient than I think? What if something amazing is happening and I just need to believe it? That last one is everything. I do believe something amazing is happening for you. I do believe that you are stronger and more resilient than you think. It will work out for you. When life suddenly changes and you feel like you have lost control and you start to feel stuck and powerless, how do you take control when you don't know where your life or the world or this moment is going? And here's the number one thing I want you to know. You don't need to know where this moment or where the world is going. You just need to know where you are going next. And one of the things that has happened, certainly in the pandemic, but it always happens when there's any kind of reckoning in your life, is that when you have something suddenly happen and your life is fundamentally changed, whether it's a death, or somebody says, I don't love you anymore, or you're fired, or you find yourself with a scary health diagnosis, there is a line in the sand. There is a life before that happened, and then a life after that moment happened. And that line in the sand, that reckoning that happens, and it happens for all of us, whether it's happening for you right now, or it has happened in the past, I'm telling you, there is a gift inside of this, even the darkest moments, because every single sudden change in your life that makes you feel like you've lost control and you no longer know where you're going, it's like hitting the giant pause button. And if you lean into the moment, there is a chance for tremendous wisdom and growth. There are things that you can do right now in order to take control of where you're going, of what you're thinking about. And you can start to take this moment of change and you can use it to be able to take and make an intentional pivot in the direction that is meant for you next. And one of the things I want to say about this moment is, look, if you're losing loved ones, you are terrified, this has made you lose your job, you feel like you're in that moment where everything, you're falling off a cliff, you're trying to pack a parachute, you're grieving. And so you got to give yourself space to grieve the losses that you're feeling. And when you get a little bit of distance from the grieving and the waves of grief and fear that you're feeling start to space out. They don't ever leave you, but over time, those waves of, holy cow, and I don't want this, and I can't handle this, and why is this happening to me? Time will start to lessen those waves. You will gather your feet underneath you again, and you will absolutely be stronger and be a better version of yourself based on this incredible challenge that you're facing. And I can say that even though you may be facing a tough time, because if you think about your life, you've faced extraordinary challenges, and there hasn't been a single one that hasn't made you a better and stronger version of yourself. And this moment will be no different. So I want you to understand that when you get out of the cycle of grief, this is an enormous reckoning, an enormous opportunity for you to hit the pause button and for you to start to ask yourself the question, what do I want my life to look like? Because I think too many of us are sitting here going, I can't wait for my life to get back to normal. I can't wait for this to end. I can't wait to things to go back to normal. And in any moment of reckoning,
what happens is there's actually parts of your old life that you don't want to go back to. And there is a tremendous amount that you're learning in this moment that you need to pause and take in and say, okay, based on what I've just learned, based on my old life, when I look ahead to my new life, what is it that I want my new life to look like? This next chapter, I can turn to a blank page. I can take all this wisdom, all this resilience, all this strength, and I can write something new. That's what I want you to know. You don't need to know where the world or where everything is headed. You just need to know where you're going to head next. When your life blows up and you find yourself in the ocean with like pieces of the boat all around, look for a fucking life preserver or a raft. Okay. So I want to applaud you for doing what needed to be done when the you know what hit the fan. That same instinct is what is going to make you successful. The second thing that I want to tell you is once you get a hold of that life raft, you want to grab something else that floats, right? And get yourself out of that water. And so I am glad to hear that you're looking for a job. Yeah. And what I would recommend is I would recommend not pretending about the situation that you're in. There is no shame in going to a job interview and at the end of it saying, and I'm asking you for this job. And the reason why I'm asking you for this job is not only because I am going to be incredible at it and you're never going to regret it, but I actually need it. I'm in a really tight jam. I had a life crisis happen. I never thought at the age of 55 I'd be in this situation, and I need the work and I want the work, which means I'm going to show up here every single day and I am going to work the heck out of this job. I've never wanted a job more than I want a job right now. And you should tell your friends that this is what you're going through and that you need help and that you need a recommendation or you need a place to stay. And you should not do what I did, which was hide what was going on because I was so ashamed. And, you know, I'm also going to tell you, it will take time. 5 years ago, I still had the liens on this house. 5 years ago, guys. And so it will take time for you to climb out of this, but you will climb out of this. When you're in a shitstorm and when the lights go out in your life and things feel really dark and really heavy, there has always been one thing that helps me get through those moments. And it's reminding myself that this moment, like every painful moment of my life, was temporary. It passed. And when you can keep telling yourself this moment it's going to pass and it's leading me somewhere, when you can trust in that, you create your own light in that dark tunnel. And it allows you to look up. And one of the things about learning something new, like how to make money online, is that it acts like a beacon for where you're freaking going.
Yeah.
It's not going to be the power boat that gets you there right now.
I know.
Because you know what I mean? Because you need to find another freaking life jacket, which means you need to get a job. Which
I know.
You need to like just keep going on these interviews. And there's no need, like if you've gone on all these interviews and people are like, you're amazing, and then you don't get it, and you think it's because you're too old or you're too desperate, they say you're a consultant. Right. There's no shame in writing back and saying, I'm not sure if you filled the position, but I didn't mention that I actually need a job.
Right.
My pride got in the way. And so if you haven't filled that position, or maybe you are looking for more people, I want to make sure you know I'm not looking to be a consultant. I've never wanted to find a great job more than ever than this moment. There's no shame in that. What's the worst they're going to say? Yeah, we filled the job.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, I've been really even just struggling to even get interviews too. And it's just a funny thing, you know, and it's like, I did have like a really great.
What did you do before?
Well, I have you know, I was sort of a rock star visual researcher with directors, like, back in the day. And I took an odyssey out of that when I had my kid and went to Europe, and I had a company doing that. And recently hooked up with my old team through B School. We're starting a Pinterest collective. So I'm reactivating this whole visual
Great.
research space.
Great. Let me tell you what you could do
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
Project management.
I don't know, girl. I'm like the worst project manager.
Bullshit. Bullshit. You can't manage your own life. You can manage somebody else's project.
Maybe.
1,000%. 1,000%. Do not look for a job in what you used to do.
Okay.
Look for a job managing projects in any kind of company, because you just need structure and a place to go every day and a paycheck. That's like the rows on the boat rowing you ahead.
Yeah.
And you're scrappy enough, I can tell, that you'll get annoyed with that job. And then you'll start hustling even more than you are. And you'll giddy up in the other things. But you need the structure. You need to get out of the house. You need a simple paycheck. You need to do that routine for a couple months. I am telling you, it is the best job market in 4 years. I don't give a shit how old you are.
No, I love hearing that. And I get so frustrated by that because it's like
you're looking for the wrong kind of job. You're trying to find a needle in a haystack.
Yeah. I mean,
you have skills. Stop looking at industries. You have skills. You can manage things. The woman that I just hired, who's going to come on board as my executive assistant, like organize Mel, she was a graphic designer. She worked in a branding agency. She had a dog walking. She's never been an executive assistant. Why? Right. Because I just need somebody who can organize shit, who's an adult that I trust, who's not going to steal from me. That's what I need. And who can boss me around.
Right. Yeah, I do. I understand it. I do think I do have the adult quality, and
of course,
I definitely I'm a pro. I mean, I honestly though, Mel, like I would ruin your flights. Like I'm the worst. I'm not a project administrative.
Then don't take that kind of job. You're not hearing me. You have skills that you can market. Do not look for a visual organizer, needle in the haystack job. Forget that. Get your skills at the top of your resume. LinkedIn has an entire learning platform, and there is so much on there about marketing skills. That's what people are hiring right now. It's not about the industry.
Yeah, I do see that. Like I have like 8 recruiters working for me that can't place me because it's like, I'm an email marketer. Everything is like one skill kind of, like parsed out. And like,
trust me, look for project management, account services, anything, honestly.
Okay.
That's just what you need. You need something. At this point, don't be picky. Just
I'm not picky.
a job.
I just feel like I don't get any traction with it. It's weird. Like it's just I'm not.
Okay. So let me tell you something else. You ready?
Yeah.
Because I can tell you don't like the advice, which means it's exactly what you need to do.
I don't know. I'm open to doing anything, but I just wish I was good at that. I've worked with project managers and I value them.
Well, then don't be a project manager. You're missing the point.
Okay.
If you're working with recruiters, they're not going to place you in a job that's general.
Right.
80% of jobs are not even marketed. They are filled by referral.
Right.
You need to be talking to your friends. You need to be looking at the job boards on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And you need to be lowering your standards because you are in a lifeboat right now.
Right.
That's what you need to do.
Okay.
And as you lower your standards on the job front, and as you start rowing in a direction, because you now have a paycheck, you're able to get out of your ex-husband's apartment every day. I'm dead serious.
Yeah.
Like, let's just be honest about where you're at. And you have a rhythm to your week. That structure from that job is going to give you what you need to get going in a different direction.
Yeah.
You can't organize your thoughts because you're all over the place because you're in an emergency. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And the last thing I want to tell you is you are capable of figuring this out. And you will get a job. And you will launch a new business. And you will make these things happen. And you will look back on this moment. And you will see exactly why this happened and how it helped you get somewhere awesome.
I believe that.
Excellent. Then
I
you're
totally
halfway
believe
there.
that. Yeah.
Excellent.
Thanks, Mel.
You're welcome. Being tough because I want to see you pull yourself up out of this. Hey, it's Mel. Thank you so much for being here. If you enjoyed that video, by God, please subscribe because I don't want you to miss a thing. Thank you so much for being here. We've got so much amazing stuff coming. Thank you so much for sending this stuff to your friends and your family. I love you. We create these videos for you. So make sure you subscribe. Mwah.